Hello, dental online trainers, and welcome to the Dental Online Training Sharecast. I'm your host, Dr. Dennis Hartlieb. Each month, I'll be talking with dental experts who are doing amazing work in the field of dentistry and talk about how they got to be where they are today, what their influences were, and their journey in the world of dentistry. And as a bonus, I'll occasionally throw in a few of my solo bonding sharecasts, where I share a little of my experience with you about what's going on in my practice and lessons that I've learned along the way. So tune in every other week to hear our latest episode. Hey, dental online trainers, thanks for tuning back in for part 2 of our conversation with Dr. Betsy Bakeman. This is part 2 of our interview, so if you missed part 1, I encourage you to go back and listen to the first part of our conversation to wherever you subscribe to your podcast, or you could check it out on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of our conversation with Dr. Betsy Bakeman. You said you joined the AACD, your first meeting was 1996. Mine was 1997, so even just a year afterwards. You talked about seeing John Coyce and what an influence he had on you. So from that meeting then, how did you then, so where were you in your practice at that point? You were probably learning mostly by going to like the MDA meeting, the Michigan Dental meeting, periodicals, stuff like that. Was that like your first entry into like, this is a whole different level of dentistry when you saw John?
I'd been down to Pete Dawson's courses, Dr. Bruce Stewart, that was at that point an accredited member in the AACD. He'd been down to some of Pete's courses and he encouraged me to do that. And I'd started doing that, going to Dr. Dawson's courses. And so I was having that immersive, 3-day experience, which I think is really where the learning happens.
Yeah.
And the growth happens. And then going back to my practice and starting and trying to implement. Bruce would come back from an AACD meeting. Of course, as the associate, I was there to cover the office when he wasn't there.
Right.
And so one year I said, you come back so enthused from that meeting and so excited. I would like to go to that meeting. And I remember him saying, well, let me think about that, because it meant closing the office.
Right.
And,
sure.
But he agreed that would be an okay thing to do. And from that point on, that opened up the doors. Going to that meeting just opened up the doors for me and, my world in so many ways, because I was exposed to so many different, lectures that then made me want to learn more about composites, more about managing tissue, more about finding ceramists that could really do amazing, ceramics, or encouraging my ceramists that I was working with to let's move it to the next level.
Right.
Have you seen this? We should try that. And so then I really started to push. And when I saw the level that I needed to achieve for accreditation, that also pushed me. I knew that I thought, well, if I have the right case, I could do the case type 1, 6 or more indirects. I could do a class 4 composite. I felt like I could do 1 or 2 ceramic restorations and blend that with natural teeth. But the missing tooth case and the 6 or more direct veneers, I knew I didn't have the skill set to meet the standard. So then I started searching out courses for that. And so for the missing tooth case, that was definitely with John Coyce that really helped me manage that interface and learn how to manage tissue. And then I had taken a course down at Baylor with Jimmy Eubank and Jeff Morley. And we did a lot of work with composite. We did work with photography. It was a several weekend course, covered actually all 5 cases for accreditation. So it was an amazing course. Learned a lot from the 2 of them. And so, the journey just kept going. But it was great. The AACD really pushed me, but then it opened the doors in lots of different ways for me to think about things.
For young dentists, I think the AACD is one of the best opportunities to be in a community of people who are like-minded, who are very positive, progressive, forward-thinking people. I think it's a great, great community. I recommend it all the time. Your thoughts on someone looking at the AACD and other, other avenues for someone who's just starting out? Things like where should they be? Where should they be starting as you think about it?
I'm a little biased being out at the Koi Center. I've watched so many people come through the Koi Center. It is not just a course; it's a curriculum. And when you watch people go from the beginning of that to the end, I've witnessed the transformation in their dentistry, how they run their practices, how they care for their patients, and it's mind blowing. And it's really a graduate course, or courses, and I mean, Adamo,
Right.
Amanda, Michael Sussman. I mean, there's so many people that have gone through there that now are on the lecture circuit, or they just or not, but their dentistry is amazing. And my good friend Sandra Hulak from Hong Kong, she could do composites on me any day.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful dentistry, but she manages the occlusion. I mean, the people that go out there, some of them are really strong in implants, but it's and their dentistry. What they learn there is to design dentistry that's built to last.
Yeah.
That serves the patient long term, and it's what John teaches is incredible. So no dentist, even though it's an investment, no dentist can go wrong going through that curriculum.
Every dentist I've ever met that's gone through John's programs, everything at the Koi Center, they are just so grateful and so thrilled, and they become better dentists. There's no doubt about it, and so many people are doing just incredible dentistry who've gone through the Koi Center. It's really, I mean, what he's doing is really incredible, and I think so. Someone who's on faculty at Koi Center, you see these. And they're not just naturally younger dentists, but there are yet a lot of young dentists that start out at Koi. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, if you go on Instagram and just go Koi Center, and you'll see the young participants over and over. But there's veteran dentists that are also going through Koi. When they come in, I mean, John works them hard. This is not a weekend off, or this is not a few days off. I mean, these are long, long days, I understand, and he works people really hard. As an adjunct there, and you're watching John do this, what's your experience like as being part of the faculty there with John?
Well, it's a tremendous honor, because I to this day, I learn from him all the time. Just his manner of teaching, how he teaches, and he's very science driven. He never stops learning. He doesn't. He teaches based on the science, and he's and science evolves. So he doesn't lock onto something just because that's what he said at one point. Mm-hmm. He will say, this paper came out, this changes what we know. So now I recommend we do it this way. And so he's not married to something just because he taught it. He taught it at that point because that's all we knew. But now if the science changes, he changes. And so he's continually learning. I mean, he continually reads. He knows the literature better than anyone I know. And so, I mean, even just his dive into digital dentistry, it's been incredible to watch.
Right.
And so that's a wonderful thing and a great example. You know, when I watch him just continue to learn, continue to grow, I think about how important that is for all of us. It's a great example to set. He definitely thinks about how the best way for someone to learn. Like if he's always thinking about if students didn't understand something he was teaching, and he's been doing this for a while, so it would be very easy to think, well, it's on them.
Right.
He never does that. He always thinks there must be a better way I can teach this. There must be, he's always searching. He always puts it on himself to improve. And he never settles for this should be good enough. He's always striving to improve in every way. And that's a great example to set as well. I try to even do that in my practice. If there was a patient confused about something or maybe we weren't clear, I say to my staff, maybe that should be on us. Is there something better we can do so that doesn't happen? And so following John's example helps people in a lot of ways. And it definitely has helped me because it creates this different mindset to take ownership for things and not just blame others for an outcome. John surrounds himself with top-notch people. And I think that's important for us in practice and in life, to surround yourself with people that make you better and can help you go in the direction that you want to go and not hinder you. And you need to sometimes let go of things to be able to move on and grow in the direction you want to go. So I've observed him doing that. He definitely knows what he wants. He, when he thought about this teaching center, it was at a time where people were doing big things, going to rooms with 300 people. And,
right.
There was and he consciously made the decision to build the teaching center in the size that he did because he likes seeing people grow. He likes getting to know people. There's some of that I can see in him that he has this teacher's heart. So he likes to get to know every attendee that comes there and something about them. And he likes to see their journey and their progress. And that gives him a lot of joy. And so he's kept it small. I mean, and he knows everyone.
Right.
And that was an important piece for him. So again, he knew what he wanted and he went after it. And the other great thing I've learned from John is he seeks and finds the best in people. He really looks for the best in people. And a lot of times they don't even see it in themselves.
For sure.
And he encourages that piece of them, people will show him a case and he'll look at it and he'll never blow smoke. I mean, he's very honest. But if he feels like it has the qualities that maybe it could be published, he will say that to the person. He will say, I think that could make a good article. You should think about that. He plants those seeds for people. And then it's up to them to then do the work. He won't do it for people, but he'll definitely plant seeds for people and see where they take it. And that's a wonderful thing that he does as well. So I try to do that as well. So I've learned a lot from him and watching him teach and how he practices and how he treats other people.
When you're working with these people who are coming out to Coyce, and then you teach a course there, and your expertise in what you teach is, well, I think, do you teach 2 courses or 1? I know you teach the soft tissue.
So I help him with the restorative periodontal interface course, and we've worked with John to develop a hands-on component because, as you know, Dennis, with you, all the hands-on that you do, there's something about connecting the hands and the brain that's important for us as dentists. So we do that with the perio course as far as crown lengthening, transsulcular approaches, obioponic development, all of that. We've created a couple of surgical models then that the students can do these surgical exercises. And And it makes it much more manageable for them. All of a sudden they say, oh, I can do this. I've got this. And so I do that. And then the other course I do is an adjunct course, a waxing course.
Right.
But it's way more than waxing. It's taking the principles that John teaches about how we treatment plan, where we start with the face, start with the maxillary incisal ledge position, and then look at the maxillary occlusal plane, and then the mandibular teeth, this very specific sequence that John teaches to treatment plan, and actually applying that to the models. And then, so if it's additive or subtractive, going through those steps in that order, then developing the function. And so we spend 3 days going through that process. And again, you can hear it all you want, but until you actually do it on the models in a 3-dimensional way, so for people, they can, if they haven't been mounting models, if they haven't been working things out on the models, again, the light bulb goes on. I see it over and over again. They're like, oh my goodness, I see the value in this. I understand this now. And a lot of times, I mean, the cases I have for them, we do 4 or 5 complex cases. Sometimes when they first look at the models, are like, this can't really, I don't know how you would restore this. If they just look at the models, or the photographs, they say, I say, let the system work for you. First of all, we're going to treatment plan it, decide where we want the teeth to go. And then we're going to start applying that to the models and see how it works out. And I tell them it's like puzzle pieces falling into place. If you just follow the system that's been designed, those puzzle pieces will just fall into place. You'll be amazed. And they are.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
So cool. I mean, you get this information when you're in dental school and you think it's just like, I don't need an articulator. I don't need a face bow. And then for a certain number of dentists, they struggle in practice. They start seeing failures, or they see cases that they don't know even where to start. And then courses like yours, your programs, this is what changes dentists' lives, which invariably changes our patients' lives. And that's the bottom line, right? We get to increase our patients' experiences, give them better dentistry, do better. And it's so much more fulfilling when you understand it and you can start going through that process. That's so cool.
Yes.
So I got to ask, besides John, because I know John's been such a huge influence, and you talked about Jimmy Eubank and
Jeff Morley.
Jeff Morley, because I know that course that they had. And you talk about a course, man, those guys really, really worked people hard. That was also like a 3-series course, if I remember right, from back in the day. And man, those were like 12-hour days, maybe longer, that they were really working people all day long for several days with tons of homework, tons of literature, and then tons of hands-on experience. For when you're thinking back to other people who had sort of mentored you through your dental experience, who else do you think about that has really sort of helped you get to where you are today with the confidence you have in your practice of dentistry?
I mean, certainly all my colleagues at the AACD, it's one thing to be at a meeting or be at the Coyce Center, or be at the Dawson Center, but then it's the people you meet there as well. It's not just the people at the podium, but it's the people you're having lunch with, and then going to the Restorative Academy. All of a sudden you're talking to people like Dave Cagnett, University of Tennessee, and just a wealth of knowledge, and it's so knowledgeable about the literature, and such a great educator, and works with residents all the time. And so it's all of those people. Michael Sussman, I met through the AACD, Brad Olson, Brian Lesage. And then you have this opportunity to hear how they practice, and you learn from them, and you have questions that you can bounce off from them. In recent years, it's been Georgia Haddad, Tara Harden, Amanda C. Georgia had this idea of having this women's group of dentists, and And I said, Georgia, I'm happy to be involved, but I can't organize it. If you want to organize it, I'll come, but I know I don't have time to organize it. And so she did. She pulled it together. And then we each invited some other people that we thought would be good in the group. And the group now is about 16 people. We get together face to face once a year. But, and just share things like everyone has to present 10 pearls, just rapid fire things in their practice that they're doing. I mean, they're just little tidbits of things that I've learned and implemented. The first meeting, I couldn't write fast enough. I was just copying things down. We have a system on our computers called Blue Note that I learned at that meeting. It's just a messaging system, and my staff used to use headsets. Within, I don't know, a week or two of having Blue Note on the computers, the headsets left. They loved the Blue Note. So there's just lots of different things. I mean, from Courtney Levine, learned about Trello, a messaging system that you can have on the computer that, you need to do this lab slip. There's an Invisalign, a script that you need to do. It can be in my message board, and I can just look in there, or I can put a message. We can just use that. I mean, instead of all the sticky notes everywhere.
Yeah.
So just fun ideas, clinical ideas, business ideas. It's been great. I've learned a ton from these young women. And so I've really enjoyed that as well.
That's so cool. To wrap things up, a couple thoughts. What advice would you have for young dentists getting into the career, and then especially for people, women particularly, but men also, as we're trying to balance, and where you talked about you really kept your practice to 2.5 days as you're bringing your family along and stuff like that. I think this is an incredibly wonderful profession, an opportunity for women and men who want to have a family and be a strong part of that family. But the obligation for dentistry can really sort of pull you into that direction. So thoughts about that? And I know you talked about it a bit, but if you follow up with that, and then other advice you might have for someone who's getting started in dentistry and things that you've learned along the way that you would want to share.
I think dentistry is this amazing career. You can do with it what you want. And so it's deciding what you want. And what you want will probably change. You can have these different chapters, and that's okay. Sometimes, especially young dentists will say to me, how do you do all you do? And I say, you have to remember, I didn't always do all these things. And so for 20 years, I was an associate. I would go in and practice my hours. I would still go to CE because that was very, very important to me. But I would go to, I went to the Koi Center once a year. I couldn't for 3 days. And that's all I could do. It's for me to be away from my family for that long was hard. And so, and the cost of it and all of that. So, but I kept plugging away. I would always sign up for my next course. I always had a next course that I could look forward to. But so there are seasons to life. I always write down, at the beginning of the year on a 4x6 card, and I keep it in my bathroom drawer, 3 business or professional goals and 3 personal goals. And I have those stacks of cards from a long time ago. And it's fun to just actually flip through them, because it's amazing if you write it down, how many of those things you achieve. I mean, the personal goals, the losing 5 pounds, that's probably on there every year. But
they're called goals. They're called goals.
It maybe happens sometime during the year, but it always needs to be done the next year. But a lot of things, just happen if you write them down, if you think about it and envision it and start to make it happen. And so that's a great thing to do. Just know what you want and what's important to you right now, and to not compare yourself to other people. I think that's really important now with social media. It's not necessarily healthy to compare ourselves to other people, but to know what you want and to be happy in your own skin is important.
So well said, and especially this world of social media. I mean, I get depressed looking at these cases. They're so beautiful, right? And so I think they have to be inspirational, and I think you have to be careful that they're not causing you to start to doubt your future abilities, because we're all still trying to get better and better in the care that we're able to provide and the level of quality that we can do. But I also believe figuring out where you want to be. And that's one of the things I talk about all the time with the younger dentists is you got to figure out what type of dentistry you want to be doing as soon as you can, so that you can just sort of set your goal. And then if you get there and you don't like it, you can always change, but try not to be wishy-washy. Figure out what you want to be doing and then set your targets and figure out how you're going to get there. And, someone like John Coyce and the Coyce Center, someone like Betsy Bakeman, these are the people that can help guide you into that direction. And it's such an awesome opportunity. It's such an awesome career and profession that we have. You just got to want to take a big bite out of that apple and take advantage of it,
Yes.
Betsy, I can't thank you enough. I know how busy you are. You have so many balls in the air. I'm, again, so grateful to serve for the first female president of the AARD. I come from a family, my mom was my mom led the house for sure. And so I come from a very, very strong female role model. And I just can't be prouder and more excited to be serving under your leadership for this coming campaign. So thank you so much for having me. And I can't thank you enough for spending the time with me, because I know how busy you are. So thank you so much.
But likewise, Dennis, I'm really grateful to you and everything that you do in dentistry and appreciate you very much.
Well, dental online trainers, I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Betsy Bakeman. Until next time, yours for better dentistry, I'm Dr. Dennis Hartlieb. Well, thanks so much for listening or viewing our Sharecast today. If you enjoy this and you want to get more information from dental online training, then check us out at dothandson.com. That's one word, dothandson.com. And hey, be sure to share this with your friends and colleagues, anyone who you think might benefit from this Sharecast. And please be sure to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoyed our conversation. This podcast is edited by Luna Clark and includes original music by Chris Peterson. And again, thank you for listening. Yours for better dentistry, I'm Dr. Dennis Hartlieb.